From R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, this is The Retirement.
When you retire, if you want an exciting life, you need a boring investment strategy.
Matters.
If you enter into retirement without a plan for income, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed.
Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Dale Smothers, and you're listening to the Retirement Matters Podcast. My hope is that you will find the information you need in every single show on how to do one of the three things: either saving more money more efficiently, planning better for your future where you can live in retirement worry-free, or my favorite, how you can live a happy and fulfilled life in this life you have been given. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it listening to this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. On this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast, we go into a deep dive on the steps necessary to really understand how much money you need to retire. This podcast episode is titled, How Much Do I Really Need to Retire? And clearly, it's different for every single person who's listening to this podcast. However, in order to understand how much money you really need, you do have to go through very distinct steps, three in particular, distinct steps where you're applying your unique situations to these steps, but unless you take all three steps in the right order, it's going to be difficult to pinpoint how much money you actually need. Now, there are other variables that go into things like taxes increasing or inflation or healthcare expenses that maybe weren't expected. But ultimately, to live the lifestyle you desire, you definitely need to start with your income target, find the gap, and then build a plan. All of that becomes very clear as we go through this podcast. You are going to want to listen to this with a notepad if you've never done this before. And of course, if you want to make it easy, just give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. We enjoy you listening to this show, but more than anything, we would love for you to give us honest feedback. This involves giving us a rating. It involves subscribing if you're interested in following our show. And if you would like for us to work with you or for you, either give us a call on that 270-600-PLAN number or send us an email at contact@rdswealth.com. The contact@rdswealth.com email can also be used to give us insight on things you would like to learn a little bit more about. As we revamp this show, we want to make it more fine-tuned to our audience, and we've begun to do that by answering questions just like this. So without further ado, let's jump to this week's episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast titled, How Much Money Do I Really Need to Retire? Enjoy the show. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well and you are ready to start discussing all things retirement matters. Every week we come to you with more information on how you can retire the way you desire. And if you are close to retirement, you're likely asking yourself a question that is extremely important and very common. And that question is one we are tackling today. It is none other than this: how much money do I actually need to retire? We are jumping into that, and we're going to break it down into three easy steps to find that number for you. And of course, at the end, offer an opportunity to work together towards building the retirement you've always imagined. I'm going to also address some questions about how do you get paid, Dale? How does your team actually work for me? Am I writing you a check? Is there a fee? We're going to address all of that. We're going to also address directly what commissions look like and why you should avoid them if at all possible, and how we can help you do that. Now, we've got a lot to unpack in today's show, but I want to stop here and pause for the positivity. I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's got a moral to the story, but the reason for this part of every episode of the Retirement Matters show is because there is far too much negativity, too many things to listen to that are noise of negativity in today's world. If you turn the news on for just a few minutes, it's very unlikely that you hear anything positive because the negative sales and too much negativity can make you feel as if the world is a dark place. But I believe that one person at a time, we, me and you, together, we can help shape this world to be a better place than it was just a day ago. Every single day we wake up, we should seek to interact with people and impact them. We talk a lot about this as a team at our RDS Wealth team meetings. We are discussing how we have impacted those around us and how we plan to do that to those around us every single week. The impact doesn't have to be revolutionary. It doesn't have to be extreme to be able to change the course of someone's life or their perspective. And life is all about perspective. This is where the pause for positivity comes today. There was a time a few weeks back that I took the boys to the playground. And going to the playground, it had been raining a lot in these weeks leading up to the time we were going to the park. The weather had broke for just a little bit, and so I decided today was the day. We're headed to the park. Well, when we get there, the playgrounds are wide open, and it's a neighborhood park, so there's playgrounds and baseball fields, and some kids are playing on the baseball field, and Andrew decides he wants to go over to the baseball field. Well, Matthew naturally follows Big Brother. And as they're headed to the baseball field, I see a group of parents standing, and I know many of the dads that are there, and they're watching the kids play. And as you can imagine, there's mud puddles everywhere. The kids are running from home to first and sliding purposely in the mud, or maybe they're running from third to home and sliding into the giant mud puddle that fills the batter's box. Some of them are running out into the outfield, sliding on their bottoms with their legs tucked up underneath of them. And one of the parents standing very close to the dugout says, "What a nasty, nasty field. Mud's everywhere. Couldn't play today even if we tried." One of the kids heard the adult say that and turns around, the biggest grin on their face, and mud kind of splashed across their eyes, and says, "What are you talking about? This is the best day of my life." And it brought perspective, that everything in life is about perspective. You can choose to see the mud, or you can choose to see the magic. Naturally, when we kind of giggled at what the boy said, he followed it up with, "When it's dry, you can't slide nearly as good." And once again, I realized that this young boy had a perspective on the field that we should have about life in general. Going through life, you can choose to see the mud or see the magic, and it is totally up to us on which one we choose. As we go through this week, I would challenge you to see the magic, see the opportunity, because in a dark world, even the smallest light shines brightly, and we are all called to be that light. I know you. I know the type of person you are, and I think that we share a lot of similar values. You don't listen to this show, at least not this portion of the show, unless you have a similar value and a similar desire, and that is to make this world a better place each and every day. And by shining your light and your perspective on others, it will do that one step at a time. So again, I would say that together, over the next week, we are going to choose to see the magic instead of the mud. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to get dirty or that we're not going to have some stains, might even have a few rips or pains, but in the end, it's all about the way we perceive those things, and life is too short not to have a good time going through it. So, let's take a quick break. We're going to reset, and when we come back, we're going to be tackling this question of how much money do I really need to retire? Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with more Retirement Matters right after this.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. Dale is the founder and president of R.D. Smothers Wealth Management. We specialize in building retirement plans that allow you to walk away from the worry of running out of money. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's dive right in to this question of how much money do I need to retire? And the answer to that question is going to be answered in three parts. So I cannot tell you exactly, you specifically, how much money you need to retire, but I can tell you how to figure out how much money you need to retire. And to do that, we've got to follow this formula. Number one, you have to understand your own retirement expenses. How much will you spend in retirement? Number two, you have to understand how much money or income you will receive every single month from other sources other than your investments that you're saving aside. And number three, you have to build your income plan around a sustainable withdrawal rate. So quickly, to get to your number, you need to, number one, understand your retirement expenses that you will have in retirement. Number two, determine your non-portfolio income sources. That's probably the best way to say that. And number three, you have to establish a plan for a sustainable withdrawal rate on your investments. So let's go into number one together. Let's do that right here for the next 4 to 5 minutes and discuss what it means to understand your retirement expenses. Why is this so important? Well, this is important because, as I've always said, you cannot aim for and hit a target that you cannot see. If the target is invisible, it is almost impossible to hit. This reminds me of a story about Matthew, who on a playground one day was climbing up on the monkey bars for what I believe to be the first time I'd ever seen him really try to cross the monkey bars on his own. And when he extended his arms to reach for the first monkey bar, he made the transition from standing on one of the bars, you know how monkey bars are built, to now all of his weight is suspended on his arms. The monkey bars are holding him up because he's holding onto the monkey bar. And I'm watching him as he sits there frozen. There's no attempt to make it to the next bar. He's just hanging, as if he maybe doesn't understand what it means to be on monkey bars. So from a distance, I'm calling out, and reach for the next bar, reach for the next bar. And he takes the step towards reaching towards the next bar, but he's nowhere close to it. His hand isn't even close to the next bar, as if he's not extending his hand all the way out. So I go over to see what he's thinking. And within just a second, he fell to the ground. I told him to try it again. And this time I see what happens. He jumps on the monkey bars, and as soon as he gets there, he closes his eyes. He closes his eyes and hangs for a minute, and I tell him to reach out. And without opening his eyes, he reaches out, feeling for the next bar. And there's just no way he would have ever found that bar. I told him, open your eyes, look at the next bar, and he did. Now, this time, he was unable to carry his own weight, so he fell again. He went back up and said, let's try this again. This time, I told him to keep his eyes open, and this time, I put my hand, one on his chest and one on his back, and gave him just a little bit of support. And he was able to make it down about 5 or 6 monkey bars without me taking much weight at all, until finally I carried all of his weight and moved him on to the next set of ladders. So he completed an entire row of monkey bars, and in his mind, he did it all alone, but he would have never one time moved from the first bar had he have not looked at his next target, had he have not opened his eyes to see where the next bar was. So it's impossible with this story, I hope you are seeing my parallel here, it's impossible to retire without looking first to see how much income you need to be making in retirement. I like to consider this as painting the target. Again, you can't hit a target that you can't see, so let's paint that target together. This is the foundation of a retirement plan. The income plan, if we can say it this way, is the keystone holding up the entire retirement plan, and without having an accurate target for income, we cannot build an income plan. So you need to get a realistic picture of what your life is actually going to cost you when you are no longer bringing in a regular paycheck and when every day feels like a Saturday. We call this establishing your every day is Saturday budget. Think about your current spending and what will stay the same, what may decrease, what may increase, what extra expenses may pop up. One of the good ways we help a client when we begin to discuss this in office, this is actually one of the first things we begin discussing in an office visit. And if you would like to sit down with us, 270-600-PLAN, we can help you establish your target. And we start to ask questions like this. How much money do you currently bring in? if you're currently bringing home, I'm not talking about gross income, I'm talking about your net income after you've paid for your health care, after you've paid your taxes, after you have set money aside for retirement, how much money are you bringing in right now? And let's just imagine that's $5,000 a month. And we'll use that example all throughout the rest of the show. $5,000 a month. If $5,000 a month is what you're bringing in now after taxes, the question would then be, do you feel that you could live the type of lifestyle you desire if $5,000 a month appeared in your bank account every single month without you having to go to work? Yes or no? Could you be okay? Or would you need more than that because you want to travel a lot more? Or would you need less than that because, Dale, when I stop working, I don't really plan on doing much? Now, you may be thinking, but Dale, I make a lot more than that. I'm setting some money aside for taxes, and I'm setting some money aside for retirement, and I'm setting some money aside for healthcare. The thing is, with taxes, we'll figure all of that in for you when we get to step number 3. With healthcare, again, we'll figure all of that in for you when we get to step number 3. But with retirement, you've got to think about this. With retirement savings coming out of your paycheck now, you're no longer saving for tomorrow because you are living in tomorrow. When you retire, you have arrived. No more saving for the date in which you retire because you have retired. So there's no need to factor that piece in. Taxes are still going to have to be paid. But if we can paint a target of net after-tax expense that sustains the lifestyle you have today, then in step number 2, what we're going to do is reduce that amount of income by the number or the dollars that you will be receiving every single month from things like Social Security, pensions, or other steady streams of income. We're going to get to that right after this quick break. We're going to take a real quick reset. And I want you to think with yourself, do I have an income target painted? Do I know how much money I need to monthly have in my account? I'm not talking about in your 401k account. I'm talking about, do you know how much money you need every single month to retire the way you desire? Every month, if you had $5,000 a month, could you retire? If you had $6,000 or $7,000 or $10,000, or what if it's $3,000 a month every single month? When you sit down with us, we help you determine that. And if you would like a little bit of assistance in that, give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. We can help you with step number 1 of the retirement planning journey, which is determining the target, determining your retirement expenses. We're going to go to step number 2, which again is determining your nonprofit income sources and solving for the income gap when we get back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with more Retirement Matters after this.
Thank you for listening to Retirement Matters, presented by R.D. Smothers Wealth Management. If you'd like to speak with us, give us a call at 270-600-PLAN. And if you enjoy the information in this show and would like to hear more, you can access previous shows by searching for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. We also produce a weekly newsletter. Receive it free to your email inbox by signing up online at rdswealth.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. Now, we have just discussed step number 1 on answering the question, how much money do I really need to retire? And the step number 1 involves you examining your current lifestyle and then asking yourself, what kind of lifestyle do I want to lead in retirement? Is it the same lifestyle? Do I want to maintain my standard of living? Do I want to increase my standard of living? Or do I want to decrease my standard of living? Many times we see a same standard of living desire or maybe even a slightly smaller standard of living desire. We've got to understand that every day is Saturday when we retire, and we enter into what we call the go-go phase of retirement, which we didn't cover a great deal in the last section. But in this section, I want to give you a little teaser here. At the end of this section, I'm going to tell you how you can learn more about that in detail. The step number 1 is a challenging piece, and we help people walk through that every single day in our office. 270-600-PLAN will get you in touch with a team member, and we can sit down to look at those things together. When you come to the office, step number 2 is one that we will ask about, and many people understand already what they're expecting this to be, which is the external sources that you will receive income from when you retire. Outside of your investment account, what non-portfolio income sources will you have? One of the biggest ones that many people have is Social Security. According to the Social Security website, it's as much as 40% of most retirees' income when they retire. But where does the other 60 come from? Well, you may be lucky enough to have a different pension in addition to Social Security. You may be lucky enough to have a husband and wife, let's say, two sources of Social Security or two sources of Social Security plus pension. These things all start to add up towards your income target. And once we have figured up your external sources, you have to then figure what we call the gap, the income gap. At RDS Wealth, we like to call this step number 2, finding and minding your gap. By minding your income gap, we are starting to really work towards how we're going to solve the need for income in retirement. And then from that, in step number 3, we can start to work backwards on how much money you need in retirement. Now, in last section, we discussed a $5,000 income target. We got that by figuring up how much income we bring into the household, net of taxes, retirement savings, and healthcare expenses. Having that money brought in every single month through your own unique series of paychecks, whether they come weekly, bi-weekly, twice a month, or monthly, you are getting paid every month, and that money's coming into the household, and currently you are sustaining your lifestyle through that. Now, if you have a lot of credit card debt, if you have a lot of bad debt, then you may not be ready to retire at all. Again, we can help you assess that, 270-600-PLAN. But assuming that you have painted your target at, say, $5,000 a month, and that will be different for every single person, we have to begin to think about the guaranteed sources of incomes that we will get in retirement. Now, for many people, like I said, Social Security will make up a big portion of that, and you need to know how much your Social Security check will be. Looking at your Social Security statement is a very good thing you should be doing after the age of 60 on a regular basis. When you look at your Social Security statement, there are some things you need to do. You need to make sure that they are accounting for every year you have worked. On those statements, you will have an earnings history, and you need to review that earnings history and make sure they haven't missed anything that you have rightfully earned and paid into the Social Security system for. Assuming then that they are correct, you can look at the front of that page and see what it looks like if you turn on Social Security at 62, 63, 64, and so on, all the way up to your full retirement age, which for most people is somewhere between 66 and 67. And then what does it look like if you defer that to 68 or 69? What about 70? When do you take Social Security? That's the biggest question. Now, that comes in step number 3. But assuming a desired retirement income and a desired retirement age, I want you to then look at that Social Security number and imagine every single month that dollar amount is coming in. If that, let's just make it easy. Let's say that's the only source of income that you have coming in when you retire. That now has presented to you your income gap. So let's go through this together. We have a $5,000 target assumed that we helped build together in step number 1. Now in step number 2, between husband and wife, you guys are bringing in, let's say, $3,500 a month of income in retirement. We have just presented a $1,500 per month income gap. That income gap is what we have to solve for in step number 3. But there's one minor thing that we need to pay attention to, and that is the taxation on Social Security. We go into a great deal of detail in our planning process on the taxes on Social Security and other sources of income, and we're going to touch on that just a little bit in this upcoming class that we have coming on Monday, this Monday, coming Monday the 28th. If you're hearing this radio show on Saturday or Sunday, there is still time to sign up for that class on Monday. And I guess depending on what time you hear it on Monday, there's still time to sign up. And we have just a few more seats available. I think we're actually trying to expand that room just a little bit because we have a full class and we're excited to be sharing this information. The taxes on Social Security is a little tricky to calculate, but we help you do that. And it's something called provisional income. Now, for the sake of time on this show, I will not get into the details of what the taxes on Social Security look like, but you do have to figure that in when calculating your income gap. Now that we have the gap, we can mind the gap. And by minding the gap, what I refer to as minding the gap, what we're doing is we're building a plan to close that gap as efficiently as possible. This is in step number 3, establishing a sustainable portfolio withdrawal rate, which sounds really fancy, but in the big picture, if done correctly, should be fairly simple and should alleviate a lot of stress, fear, and worry about whether or not you're ready to retire. We're going to take a 30-second reset, and when we come back, we're going to dive into step number 3 in understanding how much money you need to retire, which is establishing the sustainable portfolio withdrawal rate, or what we like to say around here as building the income plan. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back right after this.
It's 4th and 1 with 2 seconds left in the game. Less than 1 yard separates you from victory. You have the best running back in the league, but your coach calls a Hail Mary.
As silly as that sounds, we see a lot of retirement managers being far too aggressive with your investments when a more conservative play would be a better fit. You have questions, we have answers.
Contact R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-7526.
All right, welcome back to the show. We have just a few minutes to go through step number 3, which is establishing the portfolio withdrawal rate and ultimately answering this question of how much money do I need to retire? This last step is the critical aspect of responsible retirement planning. At RDS Wealth, we assist you in understanding this concept of prudent withdrawal rates. Many times people come in thinking that they can pull 7, 8, 9, 10% rates of return off of their portfolio and still make retirement successful. And there is a chance that that is possible. But you will not go through retirement with any confidence, because with every drop in the stock market, you are that much closer to catastrophic failure inside of retirement. You need to be looking at a 3 to 4% rate of withdrawal when you are calculating how much money you can pull off of your retirement account. But far too many people skip step number 1 and step number 2, and they go straight to step number 3, and they say, how much can I pull off of my account? And then they decide, are they ready to retire? Well, it's impossible to know if that number is the right number without doing step number 1 and step number 2. And many times we find that even if a need of, say, $1,500 a month after taxes appears, as we have already built in step number 1 and step number 2 in our hypothetical example, if $1,500 a month is the need, we see sometimes where people are still pulling $2,000 or $3,000 a month, putting it into their bank account, not spending that money, and saving it for a rainy day. That is creating lazy money. And for that reason, again, the optimized retirement may never be achieved. So with precision, we like to build the retirement income plan to where we know that we have reliable, sustainable income coming into you to meet your desired goals. And we do this through utilizing what we call the risk-on, risk-off portfolio. We have trademarked our portfolio management system called the Risk-On, Risk-Off portfolio. And if you'd like more information about it, I would urge you to run over to Kiplinger Magazine if you want. It's a financial magazine. We just recently published an article there. Or you can just Google Risk-On, Risk-Off portfolio. Click on that link, and it'll give you a lot of details about how we build that portfolio to help navigate through retirement income phase. And here's what I know. When you build a retirement portfolio in risk-on, risk-off, or maybe we deploy another strategy we call the paychecks and playchecks method, you can walk into retirement with confidence, and again, with confidence, know that you not only have the money to walk into retirement, but the amount of money needed to walk through retirement, living the lifestyle you have always imagined. All right, and that sound means that we are out of time. So I want to wrap this up. The question at the beginning of the show was, how much money do I really need to retire? And if you've stayed with me throughout the show, you've heard us discuss painting the income target, which for this couple was $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year of after-tax money needed by this couple. And we're going to assume that after taxes, that's somewhere around $100,000 of gross income that they have right now. Bringing in $100,000 a year between husband and wife, $5,000 a month of targeted income after taxes. What is their gap? In step 2, we took into effect that their Social Security was going to provide between the both of them $3,500 a month, knowing that their income gap now is $1,500 a month. This couple, in step number 3, we have found out needs just a little over $600,000 in their retirement account. That's a small amount of money in comparison to the amount of income they need of $60,000 a year. And by doing this, they can live comfortably in retirement. So how much did they need? They needed $600,000. How much do you need? All of this has to be done for you specifically. And what we know here at RDS Wealth is that there are a lot of people walking around wishing they could retire, and they're a whole lot closer to their retirement date than they ever realized. Many people have enough in their account right now to retire comfortably, yet they are taking unnecessary risk in the stock market in ways that they do not need to. This is a question we ask a lot. Why are we still having chips on the table when we've already won the retirement game? And the answer to that question often is because we've never stopped to ask ourselves the question of how much money do I really need to retire? Our team can help you answer that question, and it all starts with one phone call into our office, 270-600-PLAN. Now, I appreciate you spending some time with me. I always enjoy getting to chat with you each and every week, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Retirement Matters Show. But until we talk again, whether it's in person or it's right here on this same station, always remember, save money, plan well, and live happy in retirement. God bless.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and RD Smothers Wealth Management are not affiliated companies. Investing involves a risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. RD Smothers Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RD Smothers Wealth Management.